Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight?
Awesome.
Great.
Awesome. All right. What I want to do tonight is I want to talk about a little bit about mindset. Right. All of you, everyone here on this call, myself included, we came from someplace else. Right. There's not one person here that started as a realtor in life. We came from either career, possibly from college or from some sort of schooling, maybe military. All right, we all came from different fields, so it is important for us to remember that going forward. What I'd like to see everybody do is I'd like you to drop your past field, not everyone, but just what you did last in the messenger on the right hand side, if you don't mind. All right, and what I want you to do is think about that job or whatever it was, and why you made the decision to become a realtor. Anybody want to share why they became a realtor? Tracy?
Sure. I mean, I became a realtor during my divorce. So I still had kids that were little, and I was one of those silly people that thought I could kind of work any hours that I wanted, which was a joke. But, I come from sales and hospitality and customer service. So, it fits me. But, I came in with one of those naive thoughts that I could kind of set my own schedule.
Okay. All right. Daniel, how about you?
Okay. I basically sold my business and I basically started looking around and starting a new career. So I started building houses. So I said, well, why not getting licensed and getting knowledge about this business. So since I'm on it and investing in real estate, so um, and that's how I did it. That's why and just changing careers, so starting a new one.
Okay. All right. Carrie, how about you?
I have not yet. I'm in the process of doing so, but because I'm outgoing. I like to talk. I like to meet with different people, and just the idea of having a different career background and, kind of doing things the way I want to, and getting into, almost like Tracy said, somewhat of, thinking, even though I know it's not exactly like that, just being able to kind of make your own schedule, having two kids. I just had a baby almost 3 months ago. So
Congratulations.
thank you. Trying to, work around everything and adjust to all of that at the same time and be able to maintain.
And what are you doing for a living now?
Well, I'm a vet tech at Treasure Coast Animal Hospital, and I just recently, prior to having the baby, stopped working there. So now, like I said, I've always thought about being a realtor, just trying to get a head start on that.
Okay. All right. I like it. Miss Martha, how about you?
I did special ed for a few years, and then I was a stay-at-home mom, and then I went into retail, and then I decided that I needed something that I enjoyed doing, and looking at houses is like right up there on my like to do. So I figured I could do real estate.
Okay. I like it. Mr. Juan.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. Well, right now I'm doing events, but recently, now that we've transitioned to a lot of online stuff, I really miss the people aspect of it. And that's something I like about real estate, that you're working to either directly with buyers, directly with sellers, negotiating. And I think my people skills lend themselves to that. So I'm excited to put more time into real estate and just focus on networking and connections. And, I feel like if you're a good communicator, if you know how to work with people, you can really make real estate work.
Okay. Heather, I see you put in there sales manager.
Yes, you said the last thing. So that's I managed
Yeah.
a store. But you want to know why I left and why I'm doing real estate, right?
Well, what caused the transition into real estate?
I was tired of working a million hours. And we're gonna laugh because it's real estate, right? It's a million hours too, but literally having to go to the store and be there for 24/7, I felt like, and I'm a little controlling. So, that's why I felt like I always had to be there because I'd never really trust anybody 100%. I just got tired of working for somebody else. I got tired of somebody telling me how to do something when obviously I guess it wasn't working for me because I worked a million hours. But yeah. And I wanted to, if I needed something with my kids to do with my kids, an appointment, I knew that real estate, even though I knew being a real estate agent was a lot of work, I did not want to do it for the longest. And my husband and a friend of mine that was a real estate agent begged me to get into it. So finally made the jump. I made the leap.
All right, I like it. And Monica, I see you said district manager.
Yes. Real estate has always been my dream job. My environment didn't allow me to do it when I was raising my kids. So my commitments promised to myself was once they finished school, I would make the transition to build the business before I retired. That way I never really had to retire because I never planned on retiring.
Okay.
And this would have been the perfect job. This is the perfect job for me to, work forever.
Okay, I like it. And Eddie, I see that you came in a little late. I was asking everybody, what was your last job and that you had prior to real estate, and what caused you to jump over?
Well, my last job I'm still currently doing. I've been doing it for 40 years. I am a restaurant manager for McDonald's for a franchisee in Polk County.
Okay.
And when I got a real estate license back in '95, and when I did it, I always was scared to jump in it full time. I needed insurance and stability of a steady income. So I got my license to do it as a retirement plan, just like Monica. And pretty much I was been with a non-technology based realtor that was great for me. She's a personal friend of mine. She was very good to me. But a year ago I got inactive, and then I decided to jump on board with the Nolan group to gain the technology aspect. It was my biggest weakness because I really haven't been exposed to a lot of it. So I'm hopefully going to be a full-time realtor with the Nolan Group within 6 to 12 months.
Okay, I like it. For anybody that doesn't know, I came from the U.S. Marine Corps, and then after that, the U.S. Capitol Police, where I, left a job on the Capitol Hill, making good money, to come here and help people buy and sell homes. Now I have some different things. This was supposed to be me and my brother and my best friend that did this, and that's some of what drives me. But what I hear everybody saying, right, no matter what career field you came from, right, you saw a better way of living than whatever you were doing in the past, right? I don't care what it was, but can anybody here say that they came here to do less or make less money or have a lower style lifestyle than they did before? No, right? That's not why we come here. So my question would be is, and looking outside of this group, not directed at this group, but why would we not treat this career as our lives depend on it? Okay. Now, maybe it won't mean that, if we don't make it here, it doesn't mean that we'll, wither and die. But we have the ability to create a lifestyle for ourselves and our families that is unmatched in any other career. Because here, unlike most of the jobs that everybody just discussed, even when I was, with the Capitol Police, managers, whatever it was, you get paid either a salary or an hourly wage, and there's a gap, or a cap rather, on what you can make. Right. One of the final things for me when I was finally ready to make that decision was I sat in a retirement seminar for the U.S. Capitol Police. And they said, all right, here, if you're at this year, you make this much money. If you're this year, and as you go through the years, here's a chart of what you will make. And if you make it to this point, this is what you'll make in retirement. I was like, whoa, wait a second. You can see my whole future on a piece of paper that says after coming here every day for the next 20 years, I'm going to only make X amount of dollars. Here, I get to take my destiny into my hands. Does that make sense? Now, I know Tracy was laughing, and then, Carrie, you're newer coming into the industry, but Tracy, you were saying about how you thought it was going to be flexible and be able to come and go as you please, correct?
I mean, not completely, but yes, I thought some of that.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's very common, right? I hear people all the time, oh, I want a flexible schedule. Well, some people think flexible schedule is come in, or start working at 10:30, surf the internet for 45 minutes, dial the phone once, and then say that you had a productive day, right? And that doesn't make sense. Now, for those of you that have young children or had young children, you know that it is very difficult because those kids do not fall into the same schedules that we do. So for you, it's going to be much more difficult, but you can still start to carve out and design the life that you want. Now, I know that, but if I'm mathematical, and this is why we sent out the income goal sheet the other day, right? By doing the mathematical equation, I know if I want my life to look like this, I need to make this, right? Whatever that is. For each one of you, it's going to be very different. But if my life, I know that I want to have a boat big enough that I can do either something like the Grand Loop or something like that, where I can stay on it for 6 months and cruise around. That would be, where I want to be. But I know that I'm not going to get that if I'm working for an hourly job. Okay. So how do we do it? Right? We have to be deliberate. Now, once I figure out what that life looks like, whether it's camping, every other weekend or whatever it is, I can start to budget and figure out what that lifestyle is going to look like monetarily to get me there. Right? That's why a lot of times a lot of people do vision boards. That's why on my screensaver is the actual property with the boat slip behind the house and stuff that I would like to have someday. Right? I don't have it yet. Okay. But it's there as a reminder. If you're into the vision boards, it's a good way. Have something as a focal point. And then you look at, what is that going to take? Now we can get there. All right. For some of you that are newer into the business, we all start on a lower price point, and that's okay. As we start to grow, hopefully you'll grow your price point higher. Right. And if I know that I have to make 10 phone calls to get one appointment, and I need 4 appointments to get to a sale, how many phone calls do I need to make to get to that sale? Anyone?
At least 40.
40, right? 40 on average. Now, I can do it one of a couple different ways. I can spread those 40 calls over 40 days. Or if I want to be deliberate, do you think I could possibly get those 40 phone calls in less than a week? 100%. And I'm not saying dials. All right, I'm not saying dials. Oh, they didn't pick up. They didn't pick up. They didn't pick up. Oh, I just made 3 phone calls. Those are dials, folks. Right? So, but we all know that just sitting on the phone, dialing and dialing and dialing can get monotonous. So we need to get out there and start to interact and hone our skills. Right? Does that make sense to everybody? Now, when I say 10 phone calls, it really equates to 10 conversations. How do I have those conversations? They could be anywhere. And as you know, some of you guys are already with us. You've already heard, the mayor's campaign, things like that, where you're actually in the middle of a conversation and it leads towards real estate. Okay, that's great, but you need to have the conversations. So what are you doing to enhance your abilities? Now, for some of you, I say 10 and 4, and 4, basically 40 phone calls to get to an appointment. If you're newer and maybe, you're stumbling, or maybe you're not sure of something, stuff that's going on inside the industry, whatever it is, it might not take 40 phone calls. It might take 60 or even 80. And that's okay. Okay. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is too many of our agents, right, in general, they have adopted this whole practice of, I'm going to sit in my house and hope that business comes to me. Right? In my career, I have sold one house from being in my house and somebody just happened to knock on the door. And the only reason why that happened was because the girl hit my mailbox and she knocked on the door to apologize. Okay. And she said, "Do you need my number?" I said, "No, you're being very honest, and you came to, told me who you are. I'm good." And then I flipped it. I was like, "Unless, of course, you happen to be in the market to buy or sell." And then, yeah, let me get your information. And at first she wanted to rent. Then she broke up with the boyfriend and I helped her buy her first house. So can it happen? Yes. Would it have been a good business plan to base my whole career on waiting on other conversations like that to happen? No, I would have gone through a lot of mailboxes, right? So it doesn't work. So we have to get out there. Now, the phone is a great way. Everyone here, you have access to our ponds. You can jump in there. There's people that have raised their hand over a period of time and said, "Hey, I want some information." So you can start calling them right away. Some of them will be a little bit older, right? And you can start getting those phone calls out of there. But what are some ways that, no matter if you're new or old or seasoned in the business, whatever it is, what are some ways? And I want your thoughts. What are some things that you can do that will get you out in front of people that will cost you almost or no money at all? How can you get in front of people? Anybody have any thoughts?
Join a networking group,
Yeah, networking group.
volunteer.
Okay, volunteer. I like. Let me put this out to you. What about open houses?
Oh yeah.
Right now, I know, and a reason why I want to bring this up. Right now, we say, "Oh yeah, maybe I'll have 4 or 5 people come in to an open house, or maybe one person. I don't know what it is, right?" But now the networking groups and the volunteers, Tracy, I mean, that's awesome. But the reason why I want to talk about open houses is those people are coming in knowing that that house is for sale, and for some odd reason they have an interest in seeing that house. Okay, now maybe they maybe they have some interest in the house, maybe they're a nosy neighbor, maybe they're just some people just like to look at open houses, right? But one of the things I like about it, and what I've realized in doing this, is no matter what house you have, okay, whether you're doing an open house on a $75,000 teardown because you just want to get people in there, or you're doing $1 million property, I look at it like a litmus test, right? We have 9 people total here on this call. If we all walked into a house, each one of us is going to have a different viewpoint of that house, right? So while, yes, you might actually get some people that are interested in buying or selling a house, and that's great. You need to collect that information. You need to be interacting with these people, because that is a great way to start to see some of the indicators on whether or not a person is looking to buy or sell. Does that make sense? Right? When a person walks into a house, how many people on here have already done open houses? Monica has. I know Heather, Tracy, Daniel has. Juan, you've done them. Martha, I got you.
I did a few. Yeah, I did a few with Keller Williams.
Okay. And Eddie, have you done any?
I've done a few when we represented a small builder in the town and
Okay.
open house there.
Okay. And Carrie, I know you haven't yet, but that's all right. We're going to come back to that. Now, when you go into an open house, now you can go, I would recommend going into other people's open houses too, just as a spectator to see what they're doing. And you can do it for a new construction. But when you go into, especially a new construction where you have a salesperson that is trained and good at what they do, and for some of you, you have been with me on tours by people that have been good and some that have not. Okay. When you go into somebody that's good, they're greeting you at the front door. They're telling you about the product that they have to sell. Thank you for joining our, coming into our model home. What we have here is a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, split floor plan and they'll go through all their procedures. And then if they're doing it right, they're going to try to guide you on a path that they have already deemed as a good flow of the house. Typically, when I do it, I try and start with the guest rooms, and then I build up, the significance to, the rest of it. The guest rooms first, then the kitchen, living room, stuff like that. Typically, then into the master bedroom and master bath, right? Where, so you got that build up, and then eventually out to the backyard and the lifestyle that we're going to lead here in Florida. Now, one, I'm showing them that I'm a professional. But also, I'm looking for cues as to what they think about the house. I have been in absolutely amazing houses, multiple millions of dollars, and people will walk into a room, kitchen, a bathroom, and you see them cringe. Right? Something about that room does not resonate with them. Right? I've had other people where I've found by doing the presentation that there's actually a child that is driving the bus, which I don't agree with, but it happens. Right? And by doing this, you're going to start to interact with people and start to see them on a much different level and have real conversations. If you're doing it right, you should be building rapport. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Everybody here lives in a different type of, home. I know some of us are in single families. Some of us are in condos. Some of you guys might be in apartments or some other, type of living, and that's fine, right? You have what is important to you. Now, maybe what you have right now is a stepping stone for the next phase. However, like I tell everybody, right, it's about how they feel. When I was buying my first house in Florida, right, I decided that I was going to buy a house that I was then going to leverage, flip, and sell. And fortunately and unfortunately, when I came into this house, I realized it was my house, and I still love this house, and I don't have any intentions of selling it and going anyplace, right? So sometimes you do wander into that stuff, but you have to be picking up on what people are actually showing you. And by showing the houses, by doing the open houses, it's a great way of actually connecting with people and starting to see the way they interact with the houses. Does that make sense? And for the most part, open houses don't cost you anything, right? If you don't have the listing, somebody else in the company has a listing, and I guarantee you there are people that are willing to let you do open houses on their listings. All right, if you're on the team, I guarantee you that you can do any of the open houses as long as it's okay with the sellers. Make sense? So on that note, by all means, get out. I highly recommend doing much more than just one or two every now and then. I think you need to work it into your regular routine. Okay. Any thoughts on that? Can you guys see the value of the open house? Now, let me ask you this. Who collects information, contact information from clients at open houses? Right? We all have the check-in sheet. Now, let me ask you, do you ask them to sign it when they first get there or right before they leave?
Right when they get there.
Okay. Why?
I don't know. That's just the way I was trained to do it.
Okay.
To make sure that it gets done.
Okay. All right. Make sure you get done. That's the way you were trained. Absolutely. And guys, there's not a right or wrong answer. I get them signed at the end. Right? What's that?
Why?
Because if you come into my, or if I come into your open house and you're like, hey, please sign in. I don't know who you are. I haven't established why you want that information. There's a higher probability that I'm going to give you fake information just so I can go see that house. However, if I show them the house, I build rapport, I have a little bit of a conversation, and then I follow up with at the end, hey, listen, before you go, if you don't mind, just sign it, filling out the sign-in sheet for me, just so I can, show the seller that I did my job. That would greatly be greatly appreciated. You're going to be more likely to get factual information once you've built some rapport.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Now, I'm not saying that if you do it at the beginning, you're wrong and you need to be, in trouble or anything like that. No, a lot of agents do it that way. But I don't see it as being the best, advantages of what we're doing. Plus, it also gives me advantage because when they fill that out at the end and then they walk out, I'm making notes and I'm going to make sure it gets into my database. Nice family of 4 or 5. They're trying to be in the area within the next 4 to 6 months, yada yada, whatever. And I'm going to make my notes and I'm going to put that on the side so nobody else sees it. Now, granted, sometimes you get open houses, you'll have 3 or 4 families at the same time, and that's fine. If you get a little crazy, you're just going to try and get whatever you possibly can, and then sometimes you have to work on the fly. But in the event that it's myself and either 1 or 2 other families, I'm trying to do my best to build that rapport and get it at the end. And it does tend to work out for me. Now, does that make sense?
I kind of do the same thing at the open houses. I'll mention it at the beginning, but after I've spoken with them as they've wandered through, I remind them to do it. And most of the time they will do that. And that way you can at least follow up with it. And if you're going to have a different one or a different open house, you can send them that information because you already know what they're looking for.
I challenge you to try this on your next open house. When you put your paperwork, make sure it's in a place that is geographically staged so they have to walk past it on the way in. But don't talk about it. And just watch their reactions when they walk past it and see it. You will see people that will physically turn their body and step away from the sign-in sheet as they walk around it if you don't prompt them to do it. Right? They don't want to give you their information. They just want to come in and see the house. So try it. Either way, I don't care how you gather it. That's the way I do it because I find I get better results doing it that way. Make sense? Now, if they have a realtor, do you collect their information? Martha, you're saying yes?
Yes, you can still
Yeah.
say thank you. And you've also established that this house is for sale and the realtor knows it.
Yeah, 100%. I always try and get the information. You are going to have people that absolutely will not sign it, and that's fine. It is what it is. But I'm always trying to get that information. And if they have their realtor's information, feel free to put your realtor's information down as well, because I'll follow up with that realtor. But the thing about it is, we've talked about this many times. What is the number one complaint with the Association of Realtors?
Follow through.
Absolutely. 85% of the complaints are about realtors not following up. So the chances of that person that says they have a realtor, which they might have just said just to shut you up, right? But there's a good, strong possibility that at some point that realtor is going to drop the ball, and then guess what? You get to swoop in and be the great, realtor that because you've been put them on a drip campaign and slowly dripping to them, letting them know what's out there. Does that make sense? Any thoughts on that? So when we're doing this, and I bring this up because, it's bigger than just getting somebody to come in and write the contract. Can we agree on that? Okay. Anything else that you guys can think of that would put you in a place where you'd be able to, we already open houses. We talked about, Tracy mentioned the the charities and networking groups. Well, actually, let's just go to that for a minute. Networking groups. Is it good to network with other realtors?
Yeah.
Why?
You see what's out there, and if you have somebody that needs a particular type of house and a friend that's a realtor's got one, it's an easy transition.
Yeah, you're going to build relationships, but you also get to hear the struggles that they're having as well. So you can start to overcome those things and basically build the rebuttals to the objections before getting in front of somebody with the exact same objection. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. Now, I wouldn't spend all day with other realtors because I got to get in front of, buyers. Right. But if you look at these things from a broader spectrum and realize that there's a lot more reason to interact with people. Like I said, you have to treat this job like your life depends on it. Heather, you've been doing this for a little while. Do you feel better and feel like you live? Are you still with us?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you feel better on months when you sell one house, or do you feel better on months when you sell 3+?
Really, you should hear what Bald Chris just said to that question. He's thinking, boat or no boat. So of course, 3+.
100%. Can you get to 3+ homes a month?
Absolutely.
100%. Monica's clapping. I like it. All right.
You better tell me when you, or
What's
you better
that?
tell me when I said she's saying, yeah, girl, you better tell me how you got that 3+. Because I haven't done 3+ in a long time, and it needs to happen.
It's about being deliberate, right? Unfortunately, too many people fall into that category of this is a flexible job, right? And I can come and go when I want. And the problem is when you're not deliberate, right, stuff starts to falter. We've talked about the dashboard and KV core and following up with your leads, right? That part is mechanical, all right? But it's just like a dog chasing a fire truck. They catch it, they don't know what to do with it, right? If they do catch it, right? It's the same thing here. If you just start calling people without any idea of what people are looking for, like in general, I'm not talking about that person you're calling, but you have to have some interactions with people. So, like today, we had a class a meeting at the office. It was great to talk with other agents and collaborate and connect on things that are going on in the industry, right? It takes the edge off. We practice here on these classes here, these conversations, because if Juan jumps on here and he says some crazy stuff, right? He's angry, he's whatever, whatever it is. With the 9 of us that are on this phone call, do you think that's going to cost him a sale? No, it's not. If he does it here. Now, if he does it at that open house when he's got a house full of people, yes, it's going to cost him a sale. Right? So this is where we talk this stuff out. Okay. So we have to practice, and then we have to get deliberate with our time. For those of you, most of you on the team, you have access to my calendar. You see, I live by my calendar, right? Because I'm methodical about the way I do things, right? We have just about, between agents and staff, we have just about 20 people on the team, right? I would be a complete mess if I didn't have structure to the way we follow up just with even the people on the team. And now we just signed the contract with this builder, right? Now that's a whole other thing to add in there. Then we have other things. So my obligations, the more I build it, the more structured I have to be to stay on point. Now, to sell one house, per month, you may not have to be all that structured. But if you want to get to 2, you're going to have to be more structured than you are at 1. And those systems that you have, right, the systems that you're using, right, are good to a certain threshold, right? Once you get to that threshold, those systems are going to collapse, right? So if you're one of the agents that's out there that really doesn't understand the contract right now or the listing agreement, okay, and all you've been doing is filling in blanks, and they're starting to make changes, you don't know what those changes are. So by being the professional and learning your craft, it makes it easier for us to make those small adjustments and get back on target. Does that make sense? If I set my time and I have my 3 hours of lead gen, and I'm calling on a particular lead source, and I know that, normally I get a decent response, and right now I'm just not getting any responses. Well, maybe I put that one to the back end of my lead gen, to a later time slot, and I call people that I know will answer, like my SOI. Make sense? So then we can make those adjustments. And once I get to my 10, 15, 20, phone calls, however many I've deemed for the day, once I'm done, then I'm done. Once I've had those conversations. Right? But we have to be deliberate about our time. And there are forces out there that are going to try and keep us from staying on point. Your friends, right? We all have friends. Unfortunately, right, when you were in whatever last job you were in, okay, you had people that supported you, right? And you had people that you got along with. And some of those people may not be the same. Just because they're friendly with you, right? Now, all of a sudden, you've come into a career that has no cap on how much you can make. You can literally make as much money as you want. You might have to leverage and adjust those systems. Okay. But we can help get you there. All right. But what happens is, and it unfortunately happens a lot, is all of a sudden you can get to a point where you're doubling your last salary relatively easy. And those people that you were hanging out with that other job that see that you're making twice as much money, they don't like it because you took a chance and you're making yourself better. And not everybody is going to be, receptive to you making yourself better. And I've actually had people tell me in the past that they don't like me doing better because it makes them feel like they're a failure because they didn't go down that path and take the chance. Well, you know what? I walked away from a very good paying job to take a chance where nothing is guaranteed. Both in Maryland and in Florida, everybody told me I would never make it because it's a good old boys network. Right? Has anybody ever heard that? Oh, you're not going to make it. It's a good old boys network. Right? Monica, you raised your hand. Heather, you're laughing. Right? Martha, you got your hand up. Right? And Monica and Heather, you were in the same backyard I was in. Right? And I know you're both thriving in that area. Or Heather, you were when you were there. Right? It was a good old boys network.
And
What's
it's
that,
still
Monica?
very tight. It's still very tight here. It's still, that network is still going on.
Yeah, but are you doing pretty
But
decent?
it's okay. Yes. But there are ways around it.
Absolutely. And if you listen to those people that told you that you couldn't do it, would you still be successful today?
No.
No. So we have to find those paths and be deliberate. Right? We just signed that deal with that builder. We went up against that. They didn't tell me how many other realtors they talked to, but I know they talked to a few, and they went with an exclusive deal for 3 years with us. I could have just said, you talked with other good realtors, and I know I know that they have their connections. They are both embedded in the real estate world. They had their choices. But I also know that my future is under my control. So back to the getting out there. I've built a lot of my methods and the way I do things from things like open houses, standing in models, reading people, learning how they think, how they react to things, so that I can better serve and pick up on the small cues that they're giving me that are nonverbal. Make sense? So I want to hear from you guys. What are some ways, if you could get out there right now? All right, we talked about the open houses. What is something that you can do? Martha, we'll start with you. What is something that you can do right now to get out there and start interacting with people?
Whenever I go out, I make sure that if someone talks to me, I tell them what I do. And I'm always sharing my card. When lately I've had a lot of things at the house, like my septic tank and my air conditioning, and you bring up the conversation and everybody goes, "Oh, I didn't know that's what you did." And I hand them my card and they go, "Okay, I've got a realtor in my pocket now."
Okay. Are you getting their information?
Yes.
Okay. I like it. And are you uploading it to the database?
I have not uploaded it all, but yes, I've uploaded a lot of it.
Okay. All right. Juan, what about you? What can you do to get out there in front of people?
For me, I think I'm in my late 20s now, and I think a lot of the people in my sphere of influence that before, I'm like, oh, they're not ready to buy a home. Why would I reach out to them? I think I haven't realized how much potential a lot of the people I'm realizing now. They post on Facebook, I'm buying homes, I'm doing this, and I'm like, wait, this could have all been at my fingertips if I just reached out to more of the people in my sphere of influence. So I think that's something that I haven't tapped into that is a really hot thing for me right now. Like people in their late 20s, when they start buying homes, they start having families, and I think that's something that I can do a lot of. So reaching out to people and tapping into that market, I think, is important.
Yeah. So Juan, you just said something. You just said that you missed out on opportunities because they didn't know. Folks, that happens. I don't think anybody on here can say that they've never had that happen. Somebody bought with somebody else because they didn't know you were a realtor. I chalk it up as that was my fault because they should have known what I do. Right. And if I didn't stay, I see realtors put online, oh, my best friend bought with, another realtor. They're dead to me. That doesn't make sense. It's my fault that they didn't buy with me. They didn't know, either they didn't know or I did not do a good enough job of selling my value as to why they should work with me. Does that make sense? Right. I need to change the narrative. Right. And sometimes it's hard with those former relationships, right? Because people know you from your past sales. If you had a business, you were a special ed teacher, whatever it was, right? They know you from that past. They know you as that. They have trouble making the transition to seeing you as a real estate professional. So it is your job to make sure that they see you as that professional, right? That's why, when I'm on appointments, I'm always in my shirt and tie. I want to make sure they see me as the professional. It is a visual, but I'm not showing up to an appointment in jeans and a t-shirt, right? You know, I can't tell you the amount of times I've been at, you know, showing a house, and it's a hot house, and there's 3 or 4 other people lined up to see it, and there's realtors that are in jeans or shorts showing a house, and everybody's coming to me because they think I'm the listing agent, right? They think I have the answers. Okay, you're coming to me, right? Because I set that precedence when I get to my appointments. Right. But Chris, I've been working with this client. They're my high school best friend. It doesn't matter. I'm not showing up in the tie just for them. I'm showing up for every person that I'm going to randomly meet along the way. You know, but Chris, it costs a lot of money to dress in work attire. No, it does not. Okay. For those of you, if you're struggling and you're not sure, thrift stores, you can get decent work apparel in thrift stores. Juan and Daniel and Eddie, you know, getting suits, that might be a little more difficult for you guys, but especially on the female side, I mean, there's consignment shops. You can get stuff, you know, cheap. You know, if you have, you know, if you have my build, you know, it's a little difficult, but if you're an average build, check it out. You know, check it out. You can get stuff at an inexpensive rate. You don't have to spend a ton of money. You just have to look professional. And then have a conversation. Make sense? But I like that. And Juan, you are 100%, you know, on point. Provide that value and make those connections. All right. Heather, what about you? What is something that you can do to get out there?
You know, I mean, there's a lot of different things. I'm just thinking what I could do. Probably get more involved with my girls' school. I think I have not been involved since all my kids hit high school. So I think
Yeah.
maybe get more involved. I mean, that, you know, they're with JROTC. I know me and another mom were trying to get, you know, a little group together to get them more organized because they are not organized. I go figure, it's JROTC. But
Right.
anyway, I think just get more involved with the school. That would be a great one.
And do you have any other commonalities with the other adults that are there?
Of course. Don't we all have something in common with each other?
Well, if you're at the school for your kids, 100%,
Oh, yeah.
you got a big one right there.
Yes, so true.
Right. And I know it sounds simple, but we overlook some of the simple connections there. Well, I know I have something in contact. You have kids. Right. Carrie, what about you? What can you do to get in front of people? You're the newest one here into the industry. What can you do to get in front of people?
Like Martha was saying, also just everyone you meet, kind of when you're having a conversation, anyone you're introducing yourself with or anything, you know, throw that out there and just let it be known. And, you know, on top of that, I'm also in my late 20s, so a lot of social media and just online networking and stuff like that is really useful. People that I don't see all the time, but I may see, you know, at another friend's birthday event or something like that. You know, it's like, hey, you know, I'm all of a sudden now I want to buy, sell, rent, whatever, you know, and it's like, you know, didn't I see you had said something about being in that network? And it's, you know, you have the ability to take on something like that.
100%. I'm going to throw this out there. Some of you have already heard this. Some of you probably have not. The mayor's campaign, right? Now, yes, you get in front of people, but realtors, unfortunately, a lot are like vegans in a lot of way. People don't want to hear about real estate all the time, and they don't want to hear about how you're a vegan all the time. And a lot of realtors are just like, I'm a realtor, I'm a realtor, I'm a realtor. So what I would challenge you to do is switch it up and use the mayor's campaign. Mayor's campaign goes basically like this. We talk, hey, Martha, how you doing? You know, we go back and forth, right? You know, what are you doing? Oh, I've been camping. I've been doing this. I've been doing that. Maybe the conversation goes towards real estate. Maybe it doesn't, right? But that's all right. I'm having a conversation and I'm connecting with Martha. Okay. And then if it doesn't lead to it and you're getting closer to the end of the conversation, I would lead with, I'd follow up with, oh, yeah. And by the way, if you were to buy or sell a home, do you have somebody you would refer to? Right. And I word it that way for a reason. Not would you refer people to me? Do you have somebody you would refer to? Because if I say, would you refer it to me? They're going to say, yeah, because they don't want to hurt your feelings. Right. But do you have somebody you would refer to? It's going to make them think. Right. And then they're going to go, oh, yeah, well, my Aunt Edna, she's been selling my houses for the past, 20 years. And, she gives me all my commission back and, yada, yada, whatever. I can't beat that. And I'm not going to try. But when, if Aunt Edna ever retires, let me know. I'm happy to help and you move on. But if they say no, right, then, well, listen, I would love to be that person. And what I do is I send out items of value, information, from time to time. Would it be okay if I sent that information to you? Absolutely. Then you ask them for their contact information and get that. So now you not only have determined that they don't have anybody in their life, but now you have a reason to follow up with them. So the next conversation can be directly, hey, listen, I know last time we talked, you mentioned that you wanted some information about buying and selling or, some information. I just want to let you know, have you seen the latest, interest rates just dropped at, 0.5%. I don't know if you're actually in the market, and then you can go into, what are your thoughts? Do you have thoughts of selling? Do you know anybody looking to sell? Right. And you can start to lead it that way. Does that make sense? Awesome. Monica, how about you? What can you do to get out in front of people this week?
Well, currently I'm babysitting my nephew, so I'm kind of taking advantage of being in the space with people with small kids. We go to the pool, so I talk to the moms, and usually by the end of the conversation, we're exchanging information after
Nice.
taking turns watching each other's kids. So after a couple of shots and dealing with these bad kids, hopefully I'll get something out of this torture.
Okay.
But I'm enjoying myself, so I have a few more weeks.
Okay. So, so how long, what kind of hours are you watching the kid for?
Well, my nephew's with me till the summer, so we go to the pool for probably about 3 to 4 hours, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursdays. And on
Okay.
other days, we'll go to the playground or the park or something, Six Flags.
Okay.
But I get to sit and talk to the other parents at the pool.
All right. I mean, that's a captive audience, folks.
Yes.
Right. So, and you said 3 to 4 hours?
Yes.
Okay. So let's paint this scenario for a minute. All right, Monica, you're watching your kid. Carrie, you said you have a couple of young kids. You're going to take your kids to the pool. You wind up at the same pool. All right. You both happen to sit down within a couple minutes of each other in chairs that are relatively close to each other. Okay. You know that you're going to be there for the next 3 to 4 hours. And Monica turns to Carrie and says, hey, I don't know if you've thought about it, but how about you want to buy or sell a home? Right. Carrie, do you think Carrie is going to respond positively to that, or say, oh, crap, I got 3 to 4 hours of listening to a sales pitch?
Go get a snack and move away and sit on the other side.
100%. 100%. So we need to build the rapport.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Have a conversation, folks. Right. Build genuine relationships. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But that is a perfect example of where you know that she's going to be sitting there for a few hours as well. Now you can just lightly build that relationship and start to have a conversation. In 3 to 4 hours, I guarantee you there will be a time when it can naturally come around to real estate.
It always does.
Absolutely. Everybody lives someplace. And would you believe this? I'm watching my sister's kids over here. This is her pool. That's her place up there. Look at it. It's on the second floor. It's not as nice as the ones on the third floor. I guarantee you that, because the second floor, it's horrible. The view is terrible. All I look at is trash cans. Right? Right. I'm not saying that. Hopefully your sister doesn't live on the second floor looking at trash cans. But
I can help with the view.
But I'm making, making some jokes out of it, but more for, for to make a point. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Does anybody think that this makes sense or doesn't make sense?
You have to make it known that everybody knows that you're a realtor, and have real estate conversations with them.
Yeah, you got to have the conversation. So, but you got to build the relationships first. So, all right. So I realize we're at the top of the hour. Does this give you a different perspective of the way to look at this stuff a little bit?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. We're going to be diving much more into the systematic portions of this, the setting the goals, the getting the calls out there. But I wanted to get you guys into this mindset and starting to think about it from a little bit different way of looking at it, as opposed to just just the transactional, what they say on the license and all that stuff. So let's get on point and let's build some relationships, and it will create dividends for you into the future. Sound good?
Awesome.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
All right, cool. Anybody have any thoughts, questions, concerns?
No.
All right. Well, in that case, it is 7:00. Let's go have, relax, take the night off, and be ready to hit it hard again tomorrow morning.
Right.
Okay.
Have a good
Thank you,
one.
Chris. Thank you.
Have a
Have a
good
good
Have a good one.
Thanks,
Awesome.
everybody.
Thank
Take
you.
care,
Have a good
everybody.
evening.
See you later. Have a good one.